It all started quietly, almost too quietly. One moment, Yoshi Barrigas was bringing Philip to life with charm, wit, and depth that made him one of the most beloved characters in The Chosen. And the next, he was gone. Just like that. No official announcement, no grand farewell scene, not even a hint in social media that something was brewing. Fans like us were left in shock, replaying every scene, analyzing every line, and wondering if maybe we had missed a clue, a subtle goodbye hidden in the script. But nothing explained the sudden void his absence left. And that silence? It only fueled rumors. Creative differences, personal disagreements, tensions behind the scenes. Some said it was about Philip's arc becoming too bold, too prominent, maybe even threatening to overshadow other storylines. Others whispered that Yoshi had a vision for his character that just didn't align with the series' direction. Whatever the real reason, one thing was clear: this wasn't a simple moving on moment. What's fascinating is how Yoshi handled the aftermath. Instead of jumping into the drama, he stayed remarkably composed. A single Instagram post thanked the team for the experience and mentioned moving on to new opportunities, but he never explicitly said why he left. That silence sparked endless speculation. And now, finally, Yoshi has begun to break that silence. In his own words, he's opening up about the tension, the creative disagreements, and the exact moment that made him realize he had to step away. He describes it as a mix of frustration and passion, a point where his love for the character collided with the limits of the show's vision. And honestly, once you hear him explain it, you start to see the whole story differently. It wasn't just about a single argument or a fleeting misunderstanding. Yoshi paints a picture of months of discussion, negotiation, and subtle conflict, all building up until that one breaking point. He talks about how much he loved Philip, how much he wanted the character to grow in ways that might have challenged the traditional storytelling path of the series, and how every suggestion, every idea felt like a battle for the soul of the character. And that's where the drama really kicks in. The clash wasn't just creative, it was personal. According to Yoshi, the final straw was a heated discussion with Dallas Jenkins, where visions clashed, voices rose, and for the first time, the reality of leaving became inevitable. He admits it wasn't easy, and even now, he feels a twinge of loss looking back at the show without him. Fans have often wondered why The Chosen never addressed the departure publicly. Yoshi's explanation sheds light on that mystery, too. He mentions that sometimes in large productions, silence isn't just about secrecy, it's about respect. Both parties, he says, wanted to preserve relationships, avoid unnecessary drama, and keep the focus on the story rather than personal conflicts. Yet, for fans, that silence was deafening. It left room for speculation, theories, and even resentment. But hearing Yoshi recount it himself, you start to understand that the decision wasn't impulsive. It was measured, painful, and carried with it the weight of a deep passion for storytelling. And here's something that really hits hard. Yoshi reveals that stepping away wasn't just a professional choice, it was an emotional one. He loved the team, the cast, and the community that had grown around the show. But staying meant compromising his artistic integrity. And for him, Philip deserved more than compromise. This revelation flips the narrative from a mysterious departure to a story about courage, vision, and the difficult choices actors sometimes face when their creative path diverges from the one they're on. It's a level of honesty fans rarely get to see, and it's exactly what makes this story so compelling. The more Yoshi opens up, the clearer it becomes just how complicated the situation really was. Fans might think leaving a show is as simple as packing up and moving on, but Yoshi's story proves it's anything but. He talks about the countless hours of discussion with the writers, the subtle push and pull over Philip's storyline, and the moments where he felt like the character he loved was slipping away from him. According to him, every idea he pitched, every arc he envisioned for Philip wasn't just brushed aside, it sparked tension. And while some might assume that kind of disagreement is normal on any set, Yoshi hints that this wasn't your typical creative debate. It was intense, personal, and at times exhausting. He even admits there were moments when he questioned whether staying on the show was worth it, even though his heart was completely tied to the role. What makes this revelation so gripping is how Yoshi describes the emotional toll. He wasn't just fighting for a character, he was fighting for the story he believed in, for the vision he had long imagined, and for the connection he felt with fans who saw Philip the way he saw him. There's a raw honesty in how he recalls sitting alone after meetings, thinking about whether his passion would be misunderstood or ignored entirely. And it's that passion that eventually led him to the hardest decision of his career, to walk away. It's not an easy thing to admit, but Yoshi's courage to share it now gives fans a rare glimpse into the emotional reality behind the glitz of television production. But it doesn't stop there. Yoshi also drops hints about the infamous argument with Dallas Jenkins, the one fans have been speculating about for years. According to him, it wasn't a simple disagreement, it was a collision of visions, a moment where his love for Philip's journey clashed head-on with the larger narrative the showrunners had in mind. He describes the conversation as heated, honest, and unavoidable. There were raised voices, tense silences, and for a brief moment, a feeling that nothing could resolve the conflict. It was the kind of behind-the-scenes drama that most fans never get to see, yet it shaped the future of the series in a way that is still being felt today. And here's the kicker. Yoshi doesn't just talk about the fight itself, he talks about what came after. The period of uncertainty, the rumors spreading through fan communities, and the questions that haunted him even after leaving. He admits that watching Philip continue on screen with a new actor was bittersweet. On one hand, he understood the show had to move forward. On the other, he couldn't help but feel a pang of loss every time a scene reminded him of what might have been. He says it was strange seeing his character live on without him, knowing the deep connection he had cultivated with Philip had been interrupted. And yet, even in that complicated mix of pride and heartbreak, Yoshi stresses that his respect for the series and the team never wavered. That level of professionalism, even amid tension, is part of what makes his account so compelling. Yoshi also shares a side of the story fans might not have considered, the creative process itself. He explains that on a show like The Chosen, every character's journey is carefully mapped, but passion can sometimes create friction when an actor's vision expands beyond the expected boundaries. He says he wasn't just performing lines, he was constantly thinking about Philip's potential, about how to make him more layered, more dynamic, more human. And while that ambition is admirable, it also led to friction with the production team, because sometimes creative fire can be too intense for the framework in place. It's fascinating to hear him describe the balance between personal creativity and collaborative storytelling. And it's clear that walking away wasn't a failure. It was a choice fueled by integrity, passion, and the desire to honor the character. Even more revealing is Yoshi's reflection on how fans reacted. He mentions reading comments, seeing discussions online, and sensing the curiosity, the confusion, and even the frustration. He says it was surreal to realize just how invested people were, not just in Philip, but in him as the actor portraying him. That connection, he admits, made the decision even harder. Every scene, every line of dialogue, and every behind-the-scenes discussion was colored by the knowledge that people were watching, analyzing, and feeling the impact of his choices. And yet, despite that pressure, he chose authenticity over comfort, integrity over convenience. That's what makes his revelation so powerful. It's not just a story about leaving a show, it's about staying true to one's vision in the face of immense pressure.
Absolutely. Here's part 3, keeping the same suspenseful, conversational, and fan-focused style you've been using while building tension and engagement. After Yoshi's departure, the ripple effects were impossible to ignore. Fans immediately noticed the absence of Philip's familiar energy, his wit, and his unique charm, and the discussion online exploded. Threads speculating about why he left flooded social media. Some insisted it was a personal clash, others claimed it was creative disagreements, and a few even floated conspiracy theories about secret behind-the-scenes conflicts. But what's remarkable is how Yoshi's eventual openness reframes everything. Suddenly, what was once a mystery becomes a story of courage, integrity, and artistic passion. He explains that leaving wasn't about walking away from the chosen lightly. It was about protecting the essence of Philip, the character he had poured so much into, and refusing to let that vision be diluted. And yet, the transition wasn't easy, for him or for the show. Recasting Philip with Raza Dio brought fresh energy, and while many fans appreciate Raza's portrayal, Yoshi admits that seeing someone else step into a character he loved so deeply was emotionally complicated. There's a raw honesty in how he recounts this period, his mix of pride, nostalgia, and yes, a bit of heartache. He didn't leave because he hated the show. He left because he loved his character too much to compromise. It's a delicate balance, and hearing him describe it makes you realize just how much thought, care, and emotion went into every decision he made. What's even more fascinating is how Yoshi reflects on the lessons he learned from the experience. He talks about resilience in the face of disappointment, the importance of standing up for your creative vision, and the need to sometimes let go of something you love for the greater good of your art and your integrity. Fans get a glimpse of the man behind Philip, not just the actor, but the passionate storyteller who truly wanted to elevate the narrative, who wrestled with every choice, and who ultimately decided that leaving was the right move. And that honesty, that willingness to share his journey, is what makes this interview so compelling. You feel his frustration, his excitement, and even his sadness all at once. Then there's the aftermath. Yoshi admits that the silence following his exit was one of the hardest parts. Without public explanation, the rumors took on their own life. Some fans felt abandoned, while others speculated wildly about what had happened on set. He explains how exhausting it was to watch stories about him circulate, many of them inaccurate, while he remained quiet, respecting the team, the show, and the contracts he had signed. And yet, despite all of that, he doesn't express regret. In fact, he seems relieved to finally tell his side, to provide clarity, and to offer insight into a process most fans will never see. It's a rare glimpse behind the curtain, one that adds layers of depth to our understanding of both the character and the actor. And perhaps the most striking part of Yoshi's revelation is the creative passion that drove him. He talks about how Philip's journey had so much potential, how his vision could have taken the character to places that might have surprised even the most devoted fans. He emphasizes that the tension wasn't personal, it was about art, story, and the desire to give the character a meaningful arc. And while the final scenes of Philip in The Chosen moved forward without him, Yoshi's impact on the character and the show remains undeniable. Even in absence, his influence is still felt. Fans watching the episodes can see traces of his energy, his interpretation, and his commitment to storytelling, which makes the experience of rewatching old scenes almost bittersweet. Finally, Yoshi reflects on the personal growth he experienced through the whole ordeal. Leaving a show that has been a major part of your life isn't just a career decision, it's an emotional journey. He shares that the experience taught him about boundaries, communication, and the importance of staying true to oneself. Even now, years later, he acknowledges the difficulty of that decision, but also the necessity. And for fans, that honesty is gold. It transforms what could have been a simple "he left the show" headline into a rich, human story of passion, dedication, and the complex dance between art, ambition, and personal integrity.
Even after Yoshi Barrigas stepped away, the impact of his departure is still being felt, both on the show and among fans. The recasting of Philip with Raza Dio brought new energy, but there's no denying that the dynamic changed. Watching the episodes without Yoshi, you can almost feel the absence. the charm, the subtle humor, the spark he brought to Philip's journey. And yet, the show moved forward, proving that The Chosen itself is bigger than any one actor. But for fans who grew attached to Yoshi's portrayal, every scene with Philip carries a bittersweet undertone, a reminder of what might have been had his vision for the character been fully realized. That lingering what if is exactly what makes his revelation so compelling. It's not just about leaving a role, it's about the creative energy, passion, and personal stakes that went into every performance. Yoshi also talks about how the show evolved in his absence. He's candid about the fact that The Chosen had to make tough decisions to keep the story moving, and while those changes were necessary, they were never easy. He acknowledges Roz's talent and the fresh perspective he brings, but he also emphasizes that Philip's character was a collaboration in spirit, even if not in presence. Yoshi's influence didn't vanish. It's still there, woven into the threads of the character, the arcs he helped shape, and the way fans remember him. It's rare to hear an actor speak so openly about leaving a role, yet still celebrate the ongoing story. That balance of honesty, reflection, and respect adds another layer to the drama and intrigue surrounding his departure. And then there's the anticipation for the future. With Season 5 of The Chosen on the horizon, the stakes have never been higher. Yoshi expresses excitement for what's coming, even if he's not on screen. He knows the series is moving into some of the most emotional and intense moments of Jesus' story, the Last Supper, the trials, the culmination of years of storytelling. And while he may no longer be Philip, he still feels connected to the journey in a profound way. For fans, this connection makes his account feel even more personal, almost like he's inviting us into the story from behind the curtain. You can sense the thrill, the tension, and the love he still has for the world he helped bring to life. Finally, what makes Yoshi's revelation so compelling isn't just the drama, it's the human story behind it. This is a tale of passion, conflict, and ultimately growth. It's about an actor fighting for his character, navigating tension, and making a choice that required both courage and sacrifice. And it's about a show that continues to thrive, evolve, and tell a story bigger than any one person, while still honoring the actors who helped shape its foundation. For fans, hearing Yoshi speak openly, candidly, and honestly about why he left finally fills in the blanks that left so many questions unanswered for years. It's closure, but it's also a reminder of how much behind-the-scenes stories shape the shows we love. And now, every time we watch Philip on screen, whether it's Yoshi's portrayal or Roz's, we can appreciate the layers, the talent, and the